All right, so once again, I am sitting here with Bruce Dickson. Now, we've talked on Zoom before about one of your more recent publications, which is about befriending your biology and looking at pH levels within the body, balancing your biochemistry. But today we are chatting a little bit about anatomy and physiology, which is a passion of mine, a passion of yours. And so I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about your background in this study.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to be here. I want to acknowledge Hannah is here. Hi, Hannah. Uh, since uh, since high school in the late 1960s, I've been studying physiology, anatomy, and healing. In high school, my mother and I were both studying vitamins and nutrition. Adele Davis taught us a great deal of physiology, how the body works and which organs are doing what and how they're doing them. In my Western natal astrology chart, I'm almost triple Earth. I have Sun, Moon, and Mars in Taurus, 5 planets retrograde, and this is some intention. My soul had to get grounded and learn my lessons about Earth and the body. And somehow, somewhere in my chart, explains why I'm in my 5th gym membership and have written 22 books and booklets about body-based aspects of energy medicine. So I wasn't thinking of having a career in energy medicine when I was young. The first thing I thought of doing as a living was being a comic book artist and writer. And if you ever looked at a comic book, superhero comic book, you see it's all about drawing anatomy. So by the time I went to art school, I could draw a lot of anatomy. So the other part of that is, like many healers of my generation, I was right brain dominant and somewhat ungrounded. And this was not, I don't know if it's, I think there's a very different picture now that was really true for the boomer generation of healers. And so a lot of us, the first thing we did was Swedish massage, and we did hands-on Swedish massage. And then we did a touch for health. But I had the in-between stage also, which was really good, which was in 1972, I got connected with MSA.org, and through them, got connected with Ben Benjamin, who teaches muscular therapy, which is the most ergonomic form of Swedish-like massage. And his materials are online. There is a book or two. I still think that's really good if massage is what you're doing.
Okay, so you kind of mentioned right brain dominance, but also background in healing arts and things that are more physical. So how does this apply to how someone would learn anatomy and physiology?
Well, it applies in a lot of ways. The main thing is that I don't think of anatomy and physiology as being primarily bones and muscles. I think of anatomy and physiology as being kind of the lowest octave of the human experience. So this is the lowest octave, the physical material. Then on top of that, there's an energetic and an emotional and a mental and a mythological. And then there's stuff up here too. But I see anatomy and physiology in this larger context, which we will be discussing in this class. Does that answer your question?
Yep. But I mean, I'm also looking at the integration between those things because that's something that we've discussed a little bit before.
Yeah. Well, if you want to master anatomy and physiology, there are a lot of muscles and bones to learn, but you can't learn it all at once. And you do tend to learn it more when you're working on clients in a classroom or on the internet. So a lot of the mastery, if I have any mastery, or most of my mastery of anatomy and physiology, is from working with clients and looking into different organs and body structures based on the client's concerns. And I think that will be true of most of the students too. But in a classroom situation, things will be more driven by what students are interested in, and then trying to provide this larger context of how the lowest frequency connects with these upper levels of meridians and other structures that are relevant. Does that answer your question?
Yes. I know that you wrote a book in think you said 2009, the new energy anatomy. How does that kind of play into that?
Yeah, well, I want to mention the anatomy coloring book if people don't know about that, because that is a good thing to do if you're not aware of it. In the 1990s, Carolyn Mace wrote a bunch of books, and one of them was an energy anatomy book. I think Anatomy of the Spirit, I think is the title of it.
Yeah,
Uh,
we've got it over here.
yeah, yeah. And I was concerned that she was, even though I admire her and honor her in many ways, I was concerned that this is too old school. This is regurgitating the old school approach to auras and chakras. And to the same degree that physical material, muscles, and bones are not the whole of the human experience, neither are the auras and chakras up here. So we want a more holistic picture that brings these together and doesn't dismiss any of these levels and integrates them as much as possible so that we can go back and forth between them, because that is what you'll do as a practitioner. That is what you'll do. Because the new client comes in with something you've never heard of, and you go, wait, is it this? Is it? Oh, it's this, or it's this combination, or it's this. Yes. So that's what you'll be doing. So to get flexible in your thinking about how to move between these things is the antidote for what the healthcare based on drugs, surgery, and drug surgery, conventional medicine does. That's how to get out of that one-sidedness, that bind. So does that answer your question?
I mean, flexibility in thinking is like the core of everything that we do with all of the GEMS college stuff. It's just
Yeah,
it's great to learn things in boxes, but that's not really how people present when they walk into your space, right? So we have to be able to move through it.
yeah. So I had a lot of fun writing the New Energy Anatomy book, and I still think, and I've looked at it recently, and I still think it's relevant. It's not going to be the textbook for this course. It's not going to be the main focus of the course. This course is going to be much more skewed towards muscles and bones and physical structures. So it's not going to be only that. But then going on further in my biography, there was this terrific book called Psychological Kinesiology by Wisenant, which is kind of already forgotten. And I thought this was amazing. And I edited it down to a manual because I was very impressed with Matthew Thie's muscle metaphors document. And so I wrote and edited this meridians metaphors document, which is each of the meridians and the metaphors for each meridians based on their overcharge and undercharge. So it does draw on Wisenant heavily, but also expands a bit. And that's pretty cool. And I still use that a lot. And I find that very useful for clients of all, no matter what their concerns are. And then later in my biography, then the GAPS thing came along, the gut and psychology syndrome, which is the start of the microbiome thing. And I have a friend, Mimi Castellanos, who's a biochemistry expert and clairvoyant. And we went deeply into Bruce Lipton's revision of cell physiology and then the GAPS microbiome. And then she ended up working for Dr. Marco Ruggiero, who is a Nobel level genius inventor of microbiome products. And so we've gone through all his videos and uh, studied that from end to end, everything he's put out, and that's been a tremendous background and led to a lot of other study of anatomy and physiology, which I found really interesting. And so, what have I done with anatomy and physiology lately? Well, during the lockdown, I wrote Befriending Your Biology, which is about what I think the great breakthrough of 1931, which is biomarkers, reliable biomarkers for the biochemistry of your lymph, the pH, the sugars, the salts, and the ureas. And once you know what that those optimal biomarker numbers are, you can test non-invasively whether your lymph biochemistry is in line or not with your optimal health. And since all our cells and organs live in that, um, it's crucial. And so we'll be studying lymph physiology to some degree, though I don't want to go into it too heavily. And then the latest thing I've done, other than study keto a bit more, is this RCP protocol, which is the deepest dive I've ever seen into mitochondria. And I don't want to become a mitochondria evangelist, but I do think that that's worth knowing about. And there's a lot of confusion in that area that's now starting to calm down a bit. And the urine saliva biomarkers is part of that, and so is this RCP protocol, calming down the confusion about mitochondria. And once you do, then you have answers to fatigue, inflammation, diabetes, and chronic diseases to a high degree. And anatomy and physiology is certainly the foundation, a foundational part of understanding how those work together. Any questions?
You've mentioned a couple of times this class that we're looking at creating here. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about how that might look?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of wrong ways to teach anatomy and physiology, especially for energetic practitioners. And I think the way to do it is to go back and forth between the physical material aspects of bones, muscles, organs, and so on, and their functions, and the energetic aspects. Because if you only study the bones and muscles and draw on the anatomy coloring book and so on, you get kind of deadened because they're the lowest frequency of the human being. But on the other hand, if you only study auras, chakras, and meridians, you get ungrounded. So it's important to go back and forth like windshield wipers between these two aspects of the human being, between these and all the others, so that you can practice flexible thinking and moving between all these. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think we're really excited about the idea of collaborating on this kind of a project and just making it into something really interactive and fun for everybody who's involved.
Yeah, the other part of it was that we discussed is we want to go back and forth between what students are interested in and what I'm interested in talking about. So this will not be a class where you have to sit and listen to me talk. We're going to start with show and tell, and the homework for every class will be your obligation to bring something to the class about anatomy and physiology that you're interested in. It could be a question that you've researched. It could be an article that you're going to summarize. It could be a book you're going to summarize or a book review that you're going to present so that we know what you're interested in. And then after we do show and tell, then I'll talk about probably something on the other side. You know, if all the show and tell is about energetic, I'll do something on the physical side. If all the show and tell is physical side, I'll do something on the energetic side so that we don't get stuck in either of these modes.
Yes. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I'm good. I'm just very excited for this class now.
Yeah. Okay, so as we solidify details about this course and the schedule, all of that information is going to be available on the GEMS Kinesiology, oh dear, GEMSkinesiologycollege.com website. And we'll have it all there and available. Bruce, is there anything else that you want to say before we wrap this up today?
Oh, I'm excited about it. We were talking that neither of us know any anatomy and physiology course that's like what we're discussing. And we both think it's exciting and new. We will bring in some up-ledger stuff. We will not be ignoring up-ledger's anatomy and physiology approach, but it's kind of down on this level a bit, and we want to integrate it more into these upper things. And I'm sure students will bring aspects that we need to address more fully as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much.